All right, today I want to spit some high level game on what to do in 2025 to make money, right? And this might be too high level for some people listening, all right? But the recommendation is step one, start learning how to raise private capital. When I first started, I was like, why would anyone ever want to give me money? Like, they're not gonna just give me money for nothing. Exactly. You have to learn a skill, and that skill for me was real estate investing. And I had to show people, even when I didn't have money, my drive, my mentality, my championship mindset. And step one is really getting understanding and getting familiar with raising private capital, using self-directed retirement plans, understanding solo 401ks, SEP plans, and being able to illustrate to other people how they can make double-digit returns investing in real estate and having security with the fixed asset, right? Like you're basically teaching them how they could be the bank and make double digit returns. Like that is what you got to do to get started in this game if you have no money. Okay? It's not saying it's going to be easy, but you want to learn to raise private capital and have good relationships. And then you got to pick the right strategy, the right market. And a lot of people get confused when it comes to this. For me, because I wanted to replace a paycheck, I chose to invest in what we call cash flow strategy, cash flow real estate markets. These are lower tier markets. The properties aren't sexy. It's like affordable housing. It's not like where I live, where a house is between $400,000 and $3 million. These are markets that have blue collar workers, markets where people are unfortunately, living paycheck to paycheck. It sucks. But what we can do when we have nothing is provide value. And so what I did is I started investing in areas that where properties are, and people didn't even believe me because I live in an inflated market. I started buying properties that are 30 grand. 50 grand. I bought properties, single family houses, 3-bedroom, 1-bath houses for as little as $20,000. So going back, learning how to raise private capital, it doesn't have to be $1 billion or $100,000, but just learning how to raise little money and then buying cheap properties and then learning to either cash flow them as rentals or provide a rent to own program. I specialize in providing rent to own programs. And I'm not making a killing on these deals, but this is a conservative way, when I started, a conservative way of raising a little bit of money without, what's like, I'm always like, hey, what's the worst that could happen? But raising a little bit of money, taking that money, positioning it in a market that I could invest it. So I'll buy it for 20 grand. Maybe I won't even fix it up because this is far away from me, or I didn't. I would take that same house and then resell that property on terms. So I'm making money or income off of arbitrage. I call it financial arbitrage. So I've borrowed money at 10%. Let's do some simple math here. I borrow money, $30,000, not a huge amount of money, okay? People have that in their savings accounts. And you can show them how they can make 10%. You guys with me on the math? So 10% on $30,000 is 3 grand a year, all right? That's 10% annualized interest. So after I've raised the money, I go and find an asset to buy at a discount. I take that asset and I offer a rent to own program. So I'm taking that $30,000 property and I'm gonna sell it on a rent to own program. I know a lot of you aren't familiar with this. I said this was gonna be high level. I'll take that same property and I'll resell it on a form of seller financing, okay? So to keep things simple, I'll collect a small down payment, and that down payment can be anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000, okay? Now, when I collect that down payment, it takes care of the interest that I would pay my private capital person, right? So what do we say? 10% of $30,000, $3,000. So $3,000 came in as a down payment, and that just went to my private capital for the year. It is what it is. But now, let's say that property rents out for small conservative numbers, $800 a month. Okay? So I get to pocket $800 every single month without utilizing any of my own money, okay? Now, this is just a high level example. Now, I'll take that property I bought, so they call it the face value of the note. So I bought it for 30, but the face value of the note that I'm gonna sell or finance now to someone else, let's say I sell it for 50. Cool, right? So they're paying me monthly, and I work with my tenant buyers to help them get their credit better. I build relationships with banks, and I help these people refinance me out within a year. Okay, I've done things like this. They refinance me because me as a private financier, as you may, I'm gonna finance it to them a little bit higher than what the traditional banks are doing, right? They gotta, they gotta provide value, and they've gotta do their part. So I work with them for a year, help them get their credit better, and with the hopes that they refinance me. And when they refinance me, let's say I bought it for 30, I sold it for 50. Now they have to refinance me after a year. When they refinance me and get another bank to fund them after their credit gets better, I've basically made, so I bought it for 30. I'm on the hook for 10%. I gave the private capital their 10% with the down payment that my tenant buyer gave me, but I sold it for 50. Okay, so when they refinance me, I make $20,000 with $0 out of pocket. Isn't that cool? And I got to pocket all the rental income. Isn't that cool? Now, I know if you're watching this, you're probably like, well, what if this, and what if this, and what if this, and what if this? Well, guys, as a transactional engineer, you understand how to go in and out of scenarios and situations without ever worrying about losing money. And that's what I love to teach people that just don't get the game. All right, this video is getting too long. Hopefully, if this went way over your head, I get it. Get in the game. Cheers.